everybody. Welcome to the Going Analog podcast, the show where the board game industry guests bring their own topics and games to discuss. But today there will be only one topic, only one. Okay.
One topic.
So I'm Christina, your host. And if you're tuning in to hear about the best games ever, then you're in luck because we are going to talk about the American Tabletop Awards. They were announced super recently, right? Like, we're very timely about this.
We're right on time, right at the start of 2025.
Yes. So we are behind on everything, and stop stressing us out. But anyway, we're getting to it. And since
we just moved.
We just moved.
We had to take about a 2-month break from the show to get settled in, find all our equipment and everything. So it's been a mess on our end.
Yes, but we are, as Going Analog, a part of the selection committee for the American Tabletop Awards. So we wanted to do our traditional deep dive into this year, the 2025 American Tabletop Award winners, nominees, and recommended games. So you can go and see the full list also on AmericanTabletopAwards.com. So we have asked content creator Eric Yurko of What's Eric Playing and one of the main organizers of the ATTAs to discuss with us. So hi, Eric.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yes.
So we have Eric here today. We just found out on, about 3 hours of sleep or so?
Honestly, less.
Oh, man. He's just staying up all night playing games, so...
Truly was like, okay, I'm going to bed at 2 a.m., check my phone, I can go to bed at 4, saw the sun coming up, was like, I think I'm pushing it. It hit like 7:30, and I was like, okay, I think I need to find a stopping point.
Yeah.
And that was 6 a.m.
What are you, like 14 years old? You can do that?
He's an adult. He gets to do this.
If I was going to pick any time to do it, the Saturday night of a long weekend is probably the best time to do it. Since I don't have plans, I just don't really have a whole lot going on otherwise. Like, I have a friend coming over later today to play a bunch of board games, but my Monday is pretty open, so...
Okay.
Yeah. It is.
It's just this was not important enough, so you know.
Hey, I showed up mostly on time. I was 2 minutes late.
So Shu also remembered to ask for my opinion on voting this year, so he gets to be here with us this year.
Yep. Yeah. So we vote as one. We only count as one vote, but we work together on that vote, so it's a shared vote between us.
Thanks. On our wedding anniversary, he has to say this.
We mostly agreed on pretty much a lot of things, but not 100%.
We'll see if we remember our discussions.
That is one thing I like about how the juried system works, is that most of the time it's just the perils of democracy and me shaking my fist and being like, that's not what I would have picked. We picked a good crop of games. I'm not mad about it, but, everyone's got their personal favorites.
Yeah. So as a quick background, why don't we have you discuss how we have the selection committee pick these games? We went through several rounds, and so what was that? How do you organize that, Eric? And we just do what you tell us.
If you do what I tell you, the results might have been different.
There's no money involved, so it's not going to
Truly. How the system works is, and we've gotten some questions about this in the past, but as you all know, there are a lot of content creators and a lot of folks working in different roles in the industry, different hats. We want to prevent conflicts of interest. So how the system works for us is there's a nomination process and then 2 rounds of voting. Every person is allowed to submit 5 games in each category during our nomination process. To prevent conflicts of interest, we ask people who have any connection to a game, if they're, an artist, a designer, a developer, if they work for the company, to not submit any game that they have a conflict of interest with during that nomination process. And then during round 1, we have this incredibly annoying table.
Giant list.
Yes. I have tried, there is not a better way to do it, really. But we have a big list of games, and so the goal there is to rank order those games, rank everything that you've played, everything that you're excited about, and then we get essentially a smaller, final list of about 8 to 10 games in each category, and we'll do one final round of voting. The visibility on the committee voting side is relatively simple. All you have to do is submit 5 games for nomination, rank order a list, rank order a second list, and then we've got our winners recommended nominated games.
The interesting thing too is like, because obviously with our categories, there's early gamers, casual games, strategy games, and then complex games. There's going to be a bunch of games where people categorize them differently. So there was a time where we could say like, there was an opinion asked about like, where do you think this might go? So that sort of helps too. And this is what we arrived at. And I like the process.
Yeah, it's the fundamental nature of taxonomic organization,
Yeah.
right? Like there is no one rule that will satisfy every single person for where a game belongs in terms of like, is it a good game for people that are getting into gaming? Is it a good like casual game night game? Does it have some like nice depth of strategy to it? And is it like a heavier, like meatier game? And so you're gonna have some like overlap to that stratification.
Real quick before we get into the first category, so each category has a winner, a recommended, a few games in recommended, and a few games in nominated. Can you explain the difference between recommended and nominated for the audience?
Absolutely can. So basically, what we wanted to do is we wanted to have a couple different tiers of things, because there's just, I mean, you all know there's so many good games every
To
year.
narrow it down was so hard.
Yeah, and so like if this is our pick for best game of the year in this category, you're just gonna always feel a little bit left. Like you're gonna feel like there's something missing there. So we wanted to have another tier that was like, these are games that we still think are very worth playing. And then nominated is like, hey, these games are also a lot of fun, and we think you should check these out too. And so having a little bit of a wider spread for each category also means that people's preferences still get to be represented in some way. And you get a nice
find some new games.
Yeah, and you get a nice mix of mechanics. You get a nice mix of themes. Like even looking at some of these, the themes are kind of pretty varied.
Which I love.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it. So for early gamers, the winner was Captain Flip. Also nominated were Caution Signs and Monkey Palace, and recommended were Flip 7 and Rhino Hero XXL. So I actually remember playing Captain Flip with you, Eric Yurko, on Board Game Arena. So we played a lot of games in a row of it, which I thought I would get tired of, but not really. It's such a quick, interesting game. We played a lot of different maps. So in this game, it's a very simple game designed by Bruno Cathala and Antoine Bauza.
You have the computer.
I think. I'm pretty sure. I should have written all of this down.
I believe it's Remo Consadori and Paolo Mori.
We're totally wrong. Totally wrong.
I say I believe. Like I'm not looking it up on this thing right here, so I happen to have it handy on a. I've had another monitor cooking the whole time.
Yes. So it is just like you are a captain of a pirate ship, and you have all these different characters that are on your ship, but they all have slightly different ways that they score or their different action powers. And then depending on where you place your person, you can place the crew member or you flip them. But when you flip them, you don't know what they're going to be, and they could in fact detract from your score or have some interesting unexpected effects. So on the surface, it's like a very simple choice on your turn. You're just taking a tile and or flipping it and placing it. But the combination of the different maps and the way they interact and how you may affect, what other people's choices are can be really add a lot of variety. It's been a while since I played it, but I played so many games in a row of it, and I didn't really get tired of it. So.
You can also blow yourself up, which I think is just one of the highlights of it. If there's a tile, the gunner, that gives you 5 points, which is a fair bit in Captain Flip. But if you have 3 of them on your board at the end of the game, you lose. There are also tiles that can flip other tiles. Yeah, too many guns. There are tiles that can flip other tiles, so you can go for a dangerous play of having 3 gunners face up, but then try to flip one of them later so that you don't lose the game immediately. But it's very fun trying to balance out that, like, press your luck thing. And the theme is nice and whimsical. It's very colorful. Playpunk is also a new publisher. They have Zenith coming this year. It's been a lot of fun as well. So, Captain Flip has been a favorite.
Oh. what would you have voted for, or what would you
these-
have been your pick for winner?
Well, the big one that we played the most of was definitely Flip 7. So, and also, so it's a really quick card game. We've talked about it on our podcast before, but it's basically a push your luck. Blackjack is already push your luck, I guess, but a take on that where you're just hitting, adding extra cards and trying not to bust. If you get any double of a regular card, you will bust, but you're at the same time rewarded for going for higher and higher points. But then the higher than points, the more likely that card exists in the deck. So there are 12 12s, 11 11s, etc. And they add this little a couple little twists that still make it very easy to play, but sort of up that tension, because you can also, if you get exactly 7 of the standard cards, then you immediately end the round. You get a bunch of bonus points, and it's very exciting. So we always push people to try to flip 7.
I'm currently playing a deeply unholy version of it, which is I'm playing it asynchronously on Board Game Arena with a couple friends, and so
Yeah, I just started that
every
too. It's not
game of
great.
Flip 7 takes about a month. It's like once a week, once everyone finally gets around taking their turn, I get to flip one single card, and I'm like, I feel like essentially like a Victorian orphan, just being like, please, sir, can I have 7 points?
It just went onto Board Game Arena, and so I just started a game too with, like, I don't know, 6, 7 players. But the issue was my very first card was a freeze, so I'm like, who am I going to screw over immediately and have them have no cards? So there are these fun action cards. They're going to sign in and find out they got no cards. So
Just you pat them on the face, and you're like, thank you for playing.
yes.
Yeah, I think it's a game you need to play either in real time or in person.
Yeah.
It's
And then
not a
it's
great
super,
async
super fun,
game.
where you get to, like, egg each other on. And then, of course, one of the action cards, you can force somebody or give it to yourself and force yourself to draw 3 cards in a row, which makes it even more likely that you may bust and everybody laughs at you. So, What about you, Shu?
Same. My pick for early gamers game is Flip 7. Although I'm not mad about Captain Flip winning. That was a great game as well. The other one I
way.
want to give a shout out to is Caution Signs.
That
We
is
played a
true.
lot of that game this year. Probably besides Flip 7, our number 2 played party game this year.
That was my game of the year, or party game of the year, I believe.
For-
Caution Signs.
Or going analog. Mhm.
Caution Signs was a very pleasant surprise. I think I played like a very quick round of it in passing at maybe PAX Unplugged. And I remember being like, oh, there's something. To be fair, drawing party games is I think one of the what is it, like a dark horse genre? I think it's very underrated as a genre of the game.
Underrated. I
Yes.
don't know.
I think it's underrated. I think people scoff at them very quickly. And then,
What? Really?
Yes, because I remember seeing Cautions. I was like, oh, it's another drawing game. But the little twists in the design are really great, that you only have 10 to 20 seconds, depending on how difficult.
20 seconds,
20
yeah.
seconds. I played it once with 10 seconds, which was ridiculous, just for fun. So that just forces you to be really efficient and hilarious in how you draw, and be way more creative than just hey, who draws the best horse? Nobody cares. That's not what we're here for.
Well,
so.
the thing is,
That's actually the design of my next party game. It's called Who Draws the Best Horse, and that's all it is. It's just
that's the title of the
it's
game.
a spin-off of the classic Ravensburger Hundreds of Horses. But it also is it's nice to play games where you don't need to be quote unquote good at drawing, because it harkens back to I think fantastic and classic party games like Monstrosity or A Fake Artist Goes to New York, where it's those are games that are kind of in my scope of if I'm going to a party and I need to bring party games, they're going to be crowd pleasers. These are the ones that I would bring. I think adding Caution Signs to that pool is not a bad move, though. It seems like it would be a very big hit at game night.
Yeah,
It is.
We should
Yeah.
mention. It's not just a game about drawing
yes.
quickly. The twist is you draw one card is an adjective and one card's the object, and then so you as a drawer you're going to combine those two things. So, for example, I might get angry fireman or ecstatic duck or something like that, right? So and then everyone at the table has 20 seconds to draw these. You shuffle all the adjectives together and then lay them out, and then all the object cards together and lay them out, and then add a couple more as kind of dummy red herring cards, and then the guesser has to kind of take all the drawings at the table and then figure out which adjectives and objects go where. But because you only have 20 seconds, the drawings are so bad that it leaves a lot of room
Speak for yourself.
A lot of room for interpretation.
You
so
give me
that's
5 minutes and my drawing would not be significantly better. Whenever I draw something, someone's like, "Oh my gosh, your child is really bad at art," and I'm like, "It's tough. It's tough feedback."
But that's the best type for drawing games. You know, of course, my favorite drawing game, if you have enough people, is Telestrations, where it's just telephone Pictionary. And so I like drawing well, but also it's not fun if everybody draws well. And I'd rather have some really crappy draws in there to make it interesting, which Caution Signs encourages. So it's great.
Agreed.
How about you, Eric? What was your pick? Captain Flip?
My pick was Captain Flip. Captain Flip is, I think I've played 100 or 2 games of it. Like it's just one of those games. It's up there with like, I really like a genre of game where you could essentially be like, hey, go to hell, we're going again. And so like Captain Flip is very easy to do that because you just swipe the board, dump everything back in the bag, and you're like, we play until I win. It's like it's the perfect kind of game for like a lunchtime. Like it has the same ease of play as some of my favorite games like Santorini, and I am a very, very big fan of like push your luck as a competitive modality. So Flip 7 was also a big pick for me. But honestly, like any of the games in this set of 5, I think is really, really fun. I would like to give a special shout out to like Monkey Palace, just because far as like it is a little bit, I would argue it's a little bit on the higher level of complexity for this category, just because it has like some deck building and engine building components. For those of you who don't know, Monkey Palace is a Lego board game where you're actually like building and constructing pieces of a palace, not cooperatively, but with the other players. Like you're building off of what they've done before to get certain levels of height, certain points, certain placements, and you end up with this really cool like collaborative structure every time you play it. It's always different. It's a really cool game, and it's a great introduction to concepts like engine building and figuring out how you want to like set your cards so you're getting the right number of pieces so that you can build out this big palace. Like super cool. I like it a lot. I think it's a really cool like have I mentioned I thought it was cool? But I think that for a modern board game take from Lego, there's a lot of really fun stuff happening there.
And then, of course, let's get to caution games. It's caution games.
Casual
games. I got caught talking about caution.
You were just really hyped about Caution Signs again, and I don't blame you.
Yeah. So casual games, we have for nominated Chronologic Paris 1920, Castle Combo. For recommended, we have River Valley Glassworks and Far Away. And the winner was The Gang, which is a cooperative poker game, which we just talked about with Dominic Krepachetz in our last podcast, our last episode. And we have played a lot of The Gang too. So ever since Gen Con of last year, we've been carrying that around, showing it to a lot of people. I think, of course, any poker enthusiasts will have an entryway into it. And it's also been really fun to sort of, it's one of those games where you probably will fail the first time with a new group of people, but then you can immediately try again. So you are trying to rob a bank successfully 3 times, which is weird. They should increase their security. And I guess they sort of do.
It's 3 tries.
3 tries. Yeah. But you're supposed to do 3 successful heists to win. But if you get caught 3 times, you lose as a team. And
it's the 3 strikes rule for bank robbery. They're like, hey, stop that. And you're like, I can't.
Just addicted to it. And you're basically playing regular poker, except instead of trying to win and bet as you're winning, you are trying to figure out the final order of least to most powerful poker hands by the end. And so if you successfully guess that together as a team, then you have heisted that vault. So that's basically the game, and it's been super easy to show to a lot of people. People enjoy it. They fail. They want to try again. I've played a lot of the game, especially at cons too. It's a really easy game to play as you're waiting for people to show up, or in between other heavier games and stuff. So yeah.
Very much agreed. You also get to learn how bad people are at valuing poker hands.
Yes.
Like, I really like the gang. I have 2 complaints about it. One of them is they give you a little player aid card that ranks poker hands, but they're not ranked, what's the I'm looking for?
With
They're
probability
not,
or
they don't show you the actual relative probability of it. So people think, I've only got 2 pair, or I've only got 3 of a kind. There are so many hands that are better than this. I'll rank myself pretty low, and you're like, you understand that most poker hands are garbage, right? And then like the crew before it, it is fascinating how much more difficult it gets with more players.
Yes.
Like that difficulty spike going like this, because at 3 players it's relatively, it's not easy all the time, but we definitely got through we were playing a game where we just kept playing until we had gotten through all of the when you successfully heist, you can play with a variant that makes the game harder every time. And so we got through all of those cards at 3 players. At 5 players, we were desperate to successfully win a round.
And that's been the fun part. Like when we have a lot of people at a con, I played this at Dice Tower West with 5-6 people, and it was just got insane to the point where can we just win one? Can we just win one?
But that one win is very rewarding.
It's so satisfying.
Very satisfying.
And, yes, and it's also the right people when you're at a con where these people really want to win, and so we're gonna make this happen. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's also really interesting how much it inherits from from The Mind, a game that some people like. I don't particularly care for, but it has a lot of the same DNA there, but there's a little bit more structure to how the play works, and I think basing it on that Texas Hold'em is kind of fun. It feels like it's also, you could probably make more variants of it. So when I play poker, I really like Omaha, so you have a 4-card pocket, and I think that would be a fun variant to try with the gang as well, just to see how a 4-card pocket changes the evaluation for people's. It'd make the game a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will have that online, or it'd be funny to see what, I guess I assume if they do expansions, it'll be more of those sort of variant twists.
Well, in the box it has, I don't remember how they did it, but I think it's the Joker variant.
Oh, yeah.
Addresses other types of poker. So I think it's built in somehow, but we've only played the regular
base
game
yeah.
with Texas Hold'em.
There's a lot of base game in that base game, so it's not I'm ever gonna get bored of it. It's just mostly me being I do miss having a 4-card pocket.
What about, were there any other games here? Was that your winner that you wanted for casual games, Eric?
I know I'm going to keep coming back to this point. I'm not mad about any of this.
Sure.
This year, in previous years, I'm very pleased with what we've collectively arrived at. I will say that I very much enjoyed Chronologic Paris 1920. I love a deduction game. I think there's a lot of fun in Chronologic. You're trying to figure out the movement of other players, and there's certain amounts of information that you get. But the system that I really like is when you ask questions, you're asking questions of the game itself. So you can't replay the same scenario multiple times because it's once you've cracked it, you've cracked it. But the information that I get might be the journalist was in, the opera room at time 3. And everyone else gets I think a person was in the opera room at time 3. So you get to learn, everyone gets a little bit of information, but only the person who asked the question gets essentially the most useful information, which I think is very fun.
It's really clever. So it's the same designers who did Turing Machine, but it's way pared down in the
Yes.
way that you get your information or ask the question, but it's still really clever. You just have like a set of cards per scenario, and then you put this little like cardboard overlay onto it. So as the asker, you get your special information. You tell everybody else the other one, and it's just like way better Clue. So I love this game.
So much fun. I just like so much about it. And like, I mean, if I think about Turing Machine for too long, it starts to hurt my brain because like it's one of those things to look at and like, how did they make this?
Yes. We had a whole episode on that. But
I do love Turing Machine.
what about you, Shu?
That was my pick. I love the gang. I also really love Faraway,
Yeah.
and I think in another year that would have been one of my picks. I think it was one of our winners because we
It was.
categorized
Different- a little
for
different.
for Going Analogs Awards, end of year awards, so it's a slightly different category. So it was one of our winners. But my pick for this category for the ATTAs was Chronologic Paris 1920 as well.
Faraway is very good.
I think
Like,
Far Away would be
Far
mine.
Away is
Yeah.
excellent, but
So-
Chronologic, like I keep breaking out. And it's funny you said you can't play the same scenario more than once
He has a
because
horrible memory, so he can.
literally, like I was like, I didn't bother to keep track of which ones I played, and Christina made it played some separately from me, so we didn't keep track of any of this. But I'm constantly showing it to other people, and then I'm like, I think I've played this scenario before, but I have no idea who was the killer or who stole
Or
the diamonds or
when, or-
whatever.
I think if you muddle it enough by playing enough of the game
Yeah.
so that you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
really associate the scenarios, or if you play a random scenario each time rather than playing from start to finish,
Yeah.
you can
That's
get to the
pretty
point
much
where
it.
you're like, I feel like the journalist did something sometime, but I can't be 100% sure.
Yeah, I've definitely replayed scenarios just like I have no idea what I remember from before. But yeah, a very clever game. I'm so into this kind of new wave of logic deduction games that are like not like Cryptid, where
It was
this-
dependent on other people giving you correct information, and
yeah,
I do love Cryptid though.
I liked it at the time a lot, but
it was
like,
my favorite for quite a while.
If one
Yeah.
human error could mess up the game for everybody, where this
That is
like
that is my least favorite thing about Cryptid is one person being like, "Oh, actually, I'm sorry. This should have gone here," and I'm like, "Neat," and I just throw the board off the table and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Do it again."
yeah, whether they're app driven like the search for Planet X or the search for lost species, or like the ones we talk about
just need
chronologic.
to eliminate humans.
Yeah, like
Completely.
they just have really clever systems now that you don't need someone to run it or interpret the clue. It's just like there's the facts. And again,
do
it's
love the
mind
search for
blowing.
Planet X.
Sorry.
I do love the Search for Planet X.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
good.
one of our favorites too. But yeah, Chronologic Paris is fantastic. There's just a few simple rules, like every person has to, from hour to hour, they have to move one adjacent room, and you just start getting all these little pieces of information. So you could, and there's different stories, so you just have to track like the killer, or who is the Phantom of the Opera, or where is this jewelry being moved around between these several gang people in this gang. So.
And it's part of a
Great
series of 3 games. So I think
Yeah.
Chronologic Cusco, the Chronologic specifically for Cusco's Chronologic, comes out sometime this year.
I think later this year, yeah.
That's going to be an auto play for us.
Auto get for me, yeah.
Yeah, same.
I think my pick would have been Far Away overall. Like, I love Chronologic because I love a deduction game, but Far Away was so quirky and interesting for me that I really, really enjoyed it. So it's just a card game, a very small card game with really quirky art that sort of, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe what it looks like. Very like rich colors, but also like tribal-ish, but not. So it's just very cute art, and you are taking a journey. So as you draft cards, you're going to place them in order from left to right. So you are planning this out, but you don't score until the very end when you've placed only 8 cards, and then you score them backwards. So the issue is when you're picking a card, you might want it to score. So when you're scoring, you need certain icons and stuff to show up, but you don't know if you have them all yet because they will be played usually after the card that you just played. Or you're also balancing, well, if I play a card with a higher rank, then that's going to give me a better choice for the next, was it higher?
Lower.
A lower choice for the next round. But higher than the previous card means I get a little bonus card that will help me with icons or scoring and things like that. So you're balancing a lot of of different little choices in a manageable way. And then at the very end, you get the payoff of scoring everything backwards to see if you screwed up. And usually you did, or I did. I'm very bad at this game, but I really like it. I had one really great game, and I've been riding that high ever since.
A wise man once told me that a good game should be fun to lose, and Faraway is definitely a fun game to lose. I will say, I really do agree with you on the art style, though. It's very evocative of, like, it's one of those games, kind of like Red Raven in that sense, where it's like there's a lot more going on in the world of this game, and this game is just one vignette of like a big, expansive world of other things. So I hope that I hope that other games kind of revisit that same thing, because I'm also very excited about the art style and the color scheme used in the game.
Yeah, it was really interesting because it feels like it does like another land. There's no text, there's no like, real sort of lore behind it when you play the game, but just like looking at the cards, you feel like something's going on, and I like that.
Yeah. Is Faraway up for a Spiel? I think
It is for the Kenner Spiel.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think they've been. I mean, I think the Spiel has been pulling Kenner Spiel a little bit lighter in recent years.
Yeah,
they had this entire thing that they wrote about Dorf Romantic a few years ago, and about like the idea of growing the hobby being at the heart of like the Spiel. I have a lot of respect for how they think about like approaching games for their awards. I think it's a fantastic system.
So it is up for the Kenner Spiel also, and Flip 7 was up for the regular Spiel. So. And strategy games. So strategy games we had nominated Creature Caravan and Slay the Spire, the board game. Recommended were River of Gold and Rebirth, and the winner was Let's Go to Japan, which holds a very special place in our heart. Why, Shu?
If you go to goinganalogshow.com and search our features area, this was maybe a year and a half ago or so, we put out a blog post where we literally got an early copy of this game. So the game is basically about planning a trip to Japan. You're going to get all these cards and you're going to decide we're going to go shopping, or we're going to go see a baseball game or a sumo match, or we're going to eat ramen, and we're going to do this. And a lot of these are based on real world locations in Tokyo or Kyoto. And then so in the cards, they describe what it is. So there's a lot, like, more flavor text than you get in a lot of cards, but it's great because you like learn about why is this place cool? Why do people go? Why is it trendy? Or what group is it trendy for? How to pronounce these words. But anyways, what you're trying to do is like Monday through, is it full week, 7 days?
6 days.
6 days, I think.
So
you're planning like, I want a day for shopping. I want a day of eating. I want a day of exploration. So you start planning all these things of the way the cards combo off of each other, and how you travel between Kyoto and Tokyo really matters. But it's just like this fun game where there's like a lot of different scoring opportunities depending on how you lay out your trip. But we got an early copy. We actually went to a lot of these locations in the game and took our pictures. So there's a ton of pictures. Yeah, so it's like a picture of Christine at a cat cafe holding up and then we're holding up the cat cafe card and all that kind of stuff. So
now you need them to print a new version of the game where all the cards are just the photos of you holding up the cards,
holding the card,
and then you can go to Japan and do it again, and so you can just keep getting larger and like eventually like 7 tiers from now, it's like a picture of, or the game has a card of you holding a card that has a picture of you.
Yeah.
Well, Infinite Mirror thing.
Yeah.
If AEG wants to support this new project, I will go along with it. So.
I mean, everyone's flush with cash right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, the gameplay is it's very, like, they change the drafting every round, essentially, or every turn, and you're passing the cards in a different way, things like that. So you can, if you wanted to, pay more attention to what other people are doing, but I usually don't. I usually just like try to set up a very cool trip for myself, and at the very end, I like to make everybody, when they're scoring, talk about their days. So just a brief little description. I went here, and then here, and then here, and then decided to take a walk. So it's quite a surprising amount of strategy for a very beautiful, quick, like, little drafting game. And then it's just, the theme makes it really shine, I think. So they will probably do I heard some other games in this series going to other locations, but
let's go to the grocery store, like let's go bury grandma, like
I mean, you could have visited Grandma. That's okay. That's
You
fine.
are visiting Grandma. She just, she's not there.
So dark, Eric.
No.
I've had a lot of family deaths this year.
Oh. Okay. Well.
Anyway,
How about what any other sort of favorite strategy games on this list for you?
I was incredibly unsurprised by Slay the Spire's presence on here, just because I was like, Slay the Spire was a video game made for board gamers, so as soon as they made a board game based on the video game, I was like, yeah, all right, this is gonna hit hard for a lot of people. My pick is always I love River of Gold.
Yes.
Like, River of Gold passes what I think is one of my highest... It's going to sound it's very low praise, but it's extremely high praise. It is... I have a test that I run on a lot of games on BGA, which is how much fun can I have with this game if I never read the rulebook and exclusively play it on Board Game Arena based on what buttons the game will allow me to press. So I think the first, 5 or 6 games that you and I played together, I had no idea what I was doing, but I had a very nice time. I was like, the buttons that the game lets me press are satisfying, and I slowly learned how to play up to and including, I think, one game where I was like, oh, the scoring criteria changes every game. I guess I should pay attention to that.
I think you told me about that, and I was like, yep, it's there on the right corner.
Yep. And I was like, not reading. I mean, Office Dog, I think, also has they are a relatively new publisher. I think they've made a handful of games. I think their latest game, Crafting the Cosmos, is also one to watch. I think that's a really, really fun game with some very good looking art.
And the production has been fantastic on their games. So I've played it on Board Game Arena, obviously, with lots of people. And then in real life, though, we have our physical copy, and it is beautiful. There's gold foil all over the place, and it's just
It's
really
very
well
striking.
done. Yeah, it feels special playing the game, and it also sits at this perfect sort of medium strategy weight for
Yeah.
me, where you get a little a good amount of crunch, but it also plays super smoothly as you are sailing down this river of gold, trying to sort of influence these different factions for points, and then you get to change the board as you're going along too, because when you sort of take over in certain merchant areas, you have your color there, and you get a little kickback if people use that ability, things like that.
I like that a
you
lot,
upgrade
actually.
a boat. It's really, really fun. So.
I just think in general, because I mean, Chronologic does this as well, or does this as well to some degree, right? The everyone gets something, but I get something a little better, and I really like that structure, the additive nature of it when I'm playing a board game, because it makes it not feel as competitive. It makes it feel like we're kind of. I like it better when it's not. I get everything and you get punished. It's we all get something and I get something a little bit better. I will say another game that isn't on our 5 list here that I still really enjoyed was Stone Spine Architects. It's a card drafting game set in that role player cartographers universe where you're building a dungeon every time, so you're not just drafting cards for benefits, you're also drafting cards so you can build a pathway from the top of your board to the bottom of your board, and different rooms have different effects, and they have different point values, and money is involved with it as well. I like it a lot because it has that same flexible feel of cartographers, and I think it's a lot of fun.
That was a cool game too, as well. Yeah.
What about you, Shu? I know you're going to talk about.
I love Let's Go to Japan. I haven't played just looking at the list that you named, that those category or those games in this category. I haven't played Rebirth. I haven't played Slay the Spire, the board game.
It's huge though. That box I've seen.
Yeah.
It's a chunkster.
Yeah.
So I unfortunately I haven't played those. I really like Creature Caravan a lot. We talked about that on the show before, the Red Raven game, where you're basically traveling across the countryside and then building different
Away
cards.
from very slow zombies. You're trying to get away from slow zombies.
Very slow zombies.
It's better than fast zombies, to be fair.
But yeah, it's a cool game where it's I love dice placement games, but this one is where your caravan grows bigger and there's more places for you to put the dice in. It can take a little bit a long time. It's a longer game, but it's great. But my pick in this group is also River of Gold. I love. I think you said right, the perfect kind of middleweight, maybe on light end of middleweight kind of strategy game, because you only have so many choices. And in some rounds, like I don't have any money, so I can't build anything on the river. So you don't even have to worry about. You're never overloaded with too many choices to make. And then you have a couple of boats, so you do have some choice of like which boat do I want to move. And so, and then one nice little touch about the game is you roll your die at the end of your turn. So while other people are playing, you can start thinking about what you want to do next.
Yeah.
So the game moves really fast when you play it in real life. So,
I do have some friends, God bless them, that only ever think about what they should be doing on their turn when their turn starts. And I'm always just like, there's like I genuinely don't know what they're doing, like where they're at when I'm taking my turn. There's kind of just like looking off into the middle distance, being like, yes, Father, I can hear the drums or whatever. But for those of you listening at home, you will notice an interesting trend so far is that the three of us have largely agreed about what our preferences are. So did they just have me on to validate their own preferences?
Yes.
Worth thinking about.
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, it makes us feel better about ourselves.
I know. Yeah. We didn't want the opposite here. The movie like start.
Just me being like, I actually loved Rebirth. It's my favorite game. Nothing wrong with Rebirth, obviously. Just, I really like River of Gold.
Finally, complex games, which really sort of, I was surprised by the range of sort of length and depth of these different games, because it's sort of tough to say, because I think a lot of stuff ends up in the complex games when it doesn't quite fit into those previous ones either.
Yeah, when you read this list, I think there's one clear one that doesn't belong in this list, in my opinion. This is just me.
Whoa!
I know. Okay,
Taxonomic breakdown.
Oh, wait, I don't mean in terms of like, should it be nominated? Just I think it's miscategorized, like really badly. But it's a group decision.
We did get into a fight about Harvest, which I thought was fun. I was like, Harvest is like a 60 to 90 minute game.
So, nominated for complex games were Black Forest, Andromeda's Edge, Recommended, Rossetti, and Arcs, which are just a bunch of capital letters. And then the winner was Fromage, very, very cheesy. And I know
which is not near, it's like a quarter of the heaviness of the other four games.
Shu very much thinks SETI should have been an early gamers. So, get those kids their tiny hands looking for alien life.
Yeah. Right? Wait, don't you like Fromage is not a complex game, it's a strategy game maybe.
I would have preferred it more as a strategy game. I can see sort of the argument for complex game in that the planning for the timing. So Fromage has this very interesting mechanic. You are placing your cheese maker into different quadrants, and where they go is where you may make some cheese. But it has this very clever mechanism where the direction you place your cheese maker is the time needed to age your cheese primarily, right? So some cheese is better when it's younger, some cheese is better when it's super old and gross, whatever. And so it incorporates that. So if you go and make a cheese that takes a long time, you don't get that token back for several turns. So for some gamers, that may be a difficult plan for them to do. They make it very clever in that the whole circular cheese board turns quadrant to quadrant from turn to turn, and you can sort of see by the direction that your cheese maker is facing when you get that worker back, right? But it still is a planning that maybe newer medium gamers are not quite as comfortable with. Is my take on it.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, complex is such a it is one of the handful of categories that we occasionally catch some flack on, because I think our definition of complex has evolved over time. And I think that this is largely a board game award wide problem, in that these categories are fairly moving targets, because I think that if we were talking about Kennerspiel, right, then we think of that as the enthusiast board game of the year, and that has skewed, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, it's skewing progressively lighter, and Spiel is skewing progressively lighter because they're thinking about how to open board gaming as a hobby to more people. I'm very much on the, like, if it's over 90 minutes, my brain's just like, complex, because I've only
And
got
you
so much time.
can play fromage faster than that.
I'm like,
So
my main argument
Watch
here,
me.
maybe the final say if we could move on from this is like, I could play 4 or 5 games of fromage in the time it takes to play a game of SETI.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I've heard nothing but good things about SETI, but I have heard, like, that's
long.
that's a game that's roughly the size and weight of a small child.
I do love the cheese theme of fromage, and I think that it is a good introduction to this sort of interesting timing mechanism that I know you love in Zolkin. So it reminds me in some ways of that, but Zolkin is a game that has a much more complicated cog situation
Yes.
where you have to time your workers in a really meticulous way. Fromage eases up on that, and it has a lot of different interesting scoring, and the art is great. It's super colorful. I like the game. I don't know if I would have said it was complex for me either, but I like it.
That is why I like that we have. This is, again, another good argument for multiple games per category, right? So that way we still get representation for the, like, really crunchy heavyweight games like SETI, or the, like, fairly, I assume since it's a 4-letter game from Leader that it's got some asymmetry going on. But yeah, for arcs, like, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and this argument about what goes in what category is classic. Like,
It's classic.
We have even on our own awards, we don't
yes.
agree.
I feel like the fromage probably ended up, getting a lot bigger of a bump because more people were able to play it too. Because in this category, it doesn't take as long as the other games. You're going to have a little bit more representation.
This is canonically a very tough category to slot because all of the complex games take a little bit of time, and we've got one thing I really like about the committee's, like, structure is that we have a nice blend of people who play games from all across the spectrum. I tend to skew fairly light. Annette from Netter's Plays tends to skew, like, towards fairly heavy, or towards much heavier games, and so we try to get a good mix of perspectives. But in the same way that my voting generally tends to pull more or, like, less, like, lighter games towards, like, heavier categories, because I'm like I said, 90 minutes. Who's got time for that?
So, I mean, my favorite here is probably SETI. So I love heavy games like that. That's the issue too. If it is a heavy game that I like for that year, I've played it multiple times at the expense of other games, probably, right? So since I played 3-4 different games of SETI, I'm not playing some of these heavier games because I don't have the time for it, But SETI is about the search for extraterrestrial life, with the, given their blessing from the actual SETI group. The designer obviously really is a huge nerd for this stuff. And it's super, super thematic. We've talked about it in the past. And there's a lot going on. The teach up front is quite heavy, but once you get playing, everything makes a lot of sense, I think. And it adds this extra little taste of being not Euro-y, in that you get the randomness of these two potential alien species that you discover that will change up the gameplay, and that's the sort of very exciting part. You're like, ooh, which alien is it going to be? And then one of the aliens may be like a pick up and deliver bonus mechanism. Another one may be like, ooh, you get these powerful actions, but it's this sort of corruption mechanism. So there's all sorts of little twists on it that add to your exploration of the solar system, trying to find these traces of these extraterrestrials.
It's so cool. Like, they won't pop up until maybe a third to a halfway into the game, so it's like it gives you time to kind of ramp up to it before it adds new mechanics. And then again, it comes with 5 aliens, and you pick 2 at random for your game, so it changes every game. And then I'm excited about the expansion. It's going to release a few more aliens as well.
I do think it's funny that CGE is, like, I think at least in the non like hobby gaming sphere, sort of known best for code names when they are making a lot of these, like, really, really, like, Kutnahora, like, even Starship Captains was fairly heavy for my tastes. But I will say Starship Captains, when I played it, I was like, yeah, this is pretty much exactly what I would, like, expect out of a, like, not Star Trek knockoff, but something that's Star Trek thematic. So I would like to play SETI at some point. It's just one of those games that I kind of wish was on BGA, so I could play it without having
I
to
don't
deal
know
with
if I would
Yeah.
like it on BGA.
Same. I was thinking
so...
that because it's such a gigantic board with a lot of
there's
information.
a lot to look at. It would be like
I
one
do
of
play
those, like,
Lost Ruins of
multi-tab.
Arnak sometimes on BGA, and I'm always just like on my phone. I'm like, this is too small.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd want SETI on this.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna
it's-
say.
yeah,
Hell, we're
yeah.
playing Innovation. Sometimes I have to switch over to a computer so I can actually read some of the cards,
Yeah.
especially for some
No,
of, like,
I
the
always
city
mess
stuff.
up on my phone on BGA for that one. So that was SETI.
That's the given reason for why I keep winning.
Yes. Anyway,
Anyway,
the other one that I really liked that I have played 4 of these. No, did I play Andromeda's Edge also? No,
You
I
haven't
mean-
played Andromeda's
Okay, I played
Edge.
4 of the 5. I personally, Arcs is exactly not my kind of game. So I can see that is a good game. It is, on the surface, maybe trick-taking, but not really. It's very strategic, tactical game. Not my style of game. Also, it involves dice rolling for space battles, and I am horrible with dice. They will just leave me and give me like the worst thing possible whenever I want it, whenever I don't want it. So not my game, but I know some people love it. And then I did really like Black Forest. I need to play it again. Like I played it once. It's a Uwe Rosenberg. I'm still a fan. I love his sort of like resource management, animal, like food games, basically. And in this one, it's a sort of his revamp of Glass Road, and he had a bigger plan for Glass Road a long time ago, and they sort of pared it down for that game. So he brought it back. So you are still preparing glass in the Black Forest, which is historically where a lot of glass was made in Germany. But you also
that's
employ
where they made the cakes.
Yes, where the cakes are also. There are no cakes in this game. We can fix that next time.
Seems like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, right? So then there's also movement of your people going to villages to gather resources and do certain actions. So there's surprisingly a good amount of player interaction for an Uwe Rosenberg game, which a lot of people often claim is like a, multiplayer solitaire game. So I really like that game. I immediately wanted to buy it after playing it, and I still haven't played it again. But I really, it scratches a bunch of different itches of heavy game for me.
A bunch of different itches.
Yes, it does. That sounds great, right?
Yeah.
It's fine,
Yeah. What about you, Shu?
So I've played all the games on at least this part of the recommended
You
nominated.
heavy gamer.
Yeah.
God bless you guys.
Gamer.
There were 2 that I don't like as much as like the kind of hype that they're getting out there. One, I also agree on Arcs. Like I think I liked it better than you, but I also was like, I don't quite get the hype around this game. Like people love Arcs.
I think
but-
people are very locked in the leader ecosystem, which is their business and their prerogative. Like for me, it's me going, I play games too. I like Fort, so I'm just like,
I like Fort. Yeah.
So Arcs I wasn't as crazy about as a lot of people. Black Forest was another one where like a lot of our friends who like
I
these
love
kind, like I also like Uwe Rosenberg games. I like farming and all
Sure
those
you
stuff. Like my Caverna is one of my favorite games of all time, but this one just didn't do as much for me as other people. Andromeda's Edge I really liked, so we got to play that. And then I was like, that was one of my nominations as well. So this is kind of like a light 4X style game where you're just like, okay, do I invest in technology? Do I want to explore the universe? Do I want to get these resources? There's different resource tracks or different sort of tracks they could go and compete against with everybody. It is a pretty epic game. It's sort of the spiritual sequel to, and I was trying to look on my phone before. Do you remember the game?
Yes.
The one, it has like minis with like
yes.
a sound
It's the-
chip inside them. It's like Elder.
Dwellings of Eldervale.
yeah, I've heard of Dwellings of Eldervale.
Yeah, so it's like the spirit of that. I like it better,
Re-implements it, yes.
re-implemented with a more of a space theme versus a fantasy theme. So it's a really
I do
really
prefer
cool game.
space to fantasy myself.
Oh, okay. You might like then. If you like Dwellings, you'll definitely like this one for sure. But my pick was also SETI. Yeah, but if I had to pick one winner in this category, it's SETI.
Come visit for a weekend. We'll get SETI played. There you go.
I just I got to see a demo of it at one of the cons, and even then I was just like, this seems like a lot of fun, actually. So
Yeah, but it's gonna be with the teach like probably close to 3.5, 4 hours.
I've
You could
done
play. You could play 5 games of fromage in that time.
I've
Yeah.
done it before. Well, I think that also my tolerance for really really heavy games has gone up now that I can play BGA on my phone when it's not my turn. So someone will look over at me and I'll just be like, and they're like, "What are you doing?" It's like playing a different game. I was like, take as much time strategizing as you need. I got something else going on.
One time, similar story where we were online, we were playing remotely with a game designer on Tabletop Simulator, which is another program where you could play like a live physics model of a board game. A lot of
Too much physics.
A lot of prototypes are shown to people this way. But anyways, we're playing with the game designer and the two of us, and then on my off turn, when it wasn't my turn, I quickly switched tabs to check on my board game arena, but it made the noise, this very classic noise, and it's like ding, and then the game designer called me out. He's like, "Is someone moonlighting with board game arena right now?" Because he recognized the tone, and I had to laugh. But
You gotta have 3 monitors. You got your board game arena monitor, you got your tabletop simulator monitor, you got your Tabletopia monitor, and you're like,
You
I have
have
no
to-
idea what's going on.
But the board game arena monitor has to be on mute. So
Yeah, I always have board game arena on mute specifically for that reason because like. I got mildly called out in a meeting once because I was doing the New York Times crossword.
And that has a really lovely sound when you finish it. But,
Unfortunately, I finished it. And someone was like, "Oh, got your Wordle, I see." And I was like, "Yeah, Wordle." Something that I definitely haven't been doing for the last 20 minutes instead of... Well.
So, well, those are our opinions. Everybody should go try these games out because they're all fantastic because they made the cut. This was a really huge cut, so you can't go wrong, basically, right? It's just what your player preference is. And thanks for joining us today, Eric. Where can
course.
people follow you and find out what you're playing and what you're up to?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So normally I post 2 reviews a week on my website, what'sericplaying.com. Recently I've been doing a podcast with Stella from Maple University and Candace from Board Game Geek and some other folks called Life Beyond Board Games. That's been a lot of fun. So you can find that wherever podcasts are sold.
Yes.
yeah, they're very
I-
cheap nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about podcasts. They're like, be on a podcast. I was like, sure. I love being on podcasts because I have to do very little research. And I don't have to do any editing, which are 2 of my least favorite things to do. So, but yeah, no, that's where you can find me. I used to be on more social media. I've been taking ever since I moved up to Seattle, I took a social media cleanse, and that's actually been really, really good for me. So, I'm only logging back on to talk about like the new pope and stuff like that.
So follow Eric for new Pope info.
Conclave was like my Olympics. I was just like, oh, who's going to be the new pope? Apparently, it's illegal to bet on the new pope. Sad.
Okay.
The more you know.
So thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe and rate our podcast if you've been enjoying it. It helps other like-minded gamers find us. Thanks to the bestest editor, Mike Zipkin. And now you can stop listening and go play one of the ATTA games. Bye.
Bye.
See y'all.